Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Blue Maxima, and let me talk to you for a bit about Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2. And we're just gonna do single session runs just while we work on it, because why not? So, for those of you who don't know, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2 is a remaster of two very, very important skateboarding games that came out back in, like, what was it, 2001? Well, a little bit before that, actually. I think number one came out in 1999. The first game came out, the second game came out in 2000, something like that. And they are arcade skateboarding games with the man himself, who is arguably the most important man in skateboarding now. Again, for like the third time in like the last 2 decades. And that's Tony Hawk. There are something like 25 pro skaters in this one. You've got all of the original cast from Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2. And you've got a bunch of new pros as well. But Create a Skater also returned, which is nice. So you can make your own dude. It's limited to about 30 faces, but you can change their hair, their eyes, their tattoos, and a bunch of their clothes as well, because one of the new things that they've introduced in this is a clothing system and a challenge system, but we'll get to them. The main gameplay is, as you see here, it is skateboarding. Really, really intense arcadey skateboarding, but nonetheless skateboarding. So the basic controls are pretty easy to understand. You've got 4 face buttons, and they're all incredibly useful. So you've got square and circle. When you're in the air, these will do flips and grabs. Flips are short and complete pretty quickly, but aren't worth much points in the long run. Grabs can also complete very quickly, but here's the thing about grabs. You can hold them for bonus points. If you press triangle while you're approaching a rail, not like that, you can do grinds. And depending on the directional buttons you press, or the analog stick direction, you will either grind. You'll grind in a specific way. And those will earn you points. The more points you get, the better you do. This isn't the campaign mode of the game. This is just freely skating around because I feel like it. Because I don't really feel like there's any other proper way to show off the game than to just show off all the levels. But of course, there's more to it than that, in terms of just general gameplay. I just talked about the majority of the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 moves. Now, this does have Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 moves as well, including manualing, which you can do on the floor by pressing up and down or down and up. And they will let you do manuals, which will let you string combos together, starting on the ground. But you do also have some moves from Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 in here. This includes the revert, which if you press the R2 button when you're coming down from a half pipe, you'll do a revert when you hit the ground, and they'll let you combo it into a manual, which you can then lead into another half pipe, and then you can just continue on forever if you can keep your speed up via doing successful tricks. Which is a fun, pardon the pun, trick, ha ha ha. And it also leads to ridiculous scores. You do have the ability in the menus to change to a control scheme that locks out every move that wasn't in the original 2 games, but there are some modes, including some of the new ones, which I think are kind of neat in this game, that force you to have them turned on at all times. That force you to have all the moves on at all times, which is a little annoying, but I kind of understand it, because frankly, parts of the original Tony Hawk, especially the original goal lists, were not designed around the idea that you could just manual revert and do these, what they call transitions in tricks, where if you double press a button while you're grinding, for example, you'll swap the kind of grind that you're doing, which will give you extra tricks and bonus points. You're not meant to be able to do that. You're also not meant to be able to land as easily as you are, because again, this is more Tony Hawk 3 and 4 than it is 2, because they made the ability to land tricks easier. In the original Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, if you were doing the 900 and you did not finish the entire animation before you landed, it would just end. Like, you would just bail, that would be it. But in this, it just ends and you land safely. As long as you're, like, facing the right angle as you're coming down. Because obviously you can't come down sideways. You'll bail if you do. So you need to be careful about that. But the original campaigns, which they do include, they absolutely do include them in this game. That is an absolute God's honest truth. They have score requirements of like 50,000 early on, which when you've got the ability to do a 50,000 point combo in like 20 seconds, it doesn't really have the same difficulty the original games used to. And it just feels kind of weird doing these moves in the levels from Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, but you get used to it because I was always personally of the idea that the mindset in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 was the best in the series, just due to how much creativity it could give you, even over the original 2 ones. I can kind of understand where, like, the purists would be coming from in the form of the best thing about finding, like, about doing good high score runs in these games was about finding lines in the levels, and I understand that. But considering that you can now go across the entire level and combo an entire goddamn town, it raises the skill ceiling a little. Well, not so much a little bit, but a lot. Although, admittedly, I'm probably making it look kind of easy. But again, it also... Damn it! It also feels kind of weird because, as I said before, these games weren't originally designed for this moveset. So... you'll be playing, and you'll come across something that's known as the spine transfer, which was something they added in Tony Hawk 4, where if you've got 2 half pipes, like back-to-back with each other, you can do a spine transfer in order to transfer between them, but there's like no opportunities in this game whatsoever to ever do that in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 or 2, because they didn't design the levels that way. So you can't actually do them in any, like, respectable fashion, and it's just kind of odd. With that said, though, the game feels fantastic. And there's one reason, and one reason alone for this. The developers, Vicarious Visions, got the original code for how Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 handled from, like, the Activision officers from Neversoft, from, you know, just where they would keep those sorts of things, right? So, as a result, despite the fact that they've basically re-implemented the entire thing in the Unreal Engine, it handles almost exactly like the original games. It feels so good to play it. Especially when it plays at 60 frames a second, consistently, on my PlayStation 4. Which is great. I'm not playing this on PC because fuck the Epic Game Store. But still, it plays great. It legitimately feels fantastic to play. There are some things that are off, though. Minor trick timings are a little bit weird. As I said before, they kind of ease it up, how easy some tricks are to do. So it can be kind of weird, as I said before, going into a 900 thinking, oh, I'm not going to land this, but you're halfway through the 900, you land it, and you get the full 10,000 points just because you were facing the right angle. Still kind of hard to do, but not exactly like 900 level material, because you want the 900 to be hard to land, man. Back when this game came out, Tony Hawk had only just managed to pull it off, like, a couple of months before the game was due to come out. So, you think to yourself, this trick should be really hard to land, but it's not. It's just odd, in all honesty. But, again, it's not bad just because the game plays so goddamn good. None of this is bad because the game just plays so goddamn well. It really does feel amazing to play. And they did an absolutely great job at bringing the gameplay to an entirely different engine without fucking it up. Which is what we were all hoping for at the end of the day, wasn't it? Or at least, you know, some of us that still care about, like, 20-year-old skateboarding franchises. But of course, another important part of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater is the soundtrack. A combination of ska, rock, metal, reggae, and a bunch of other genre names that I don't care about because I only listen to heavy metal, but thankfully they mostly got it right. Fuck. Thankfully they mostly got it right. Mainly because they've got most of the original soundtracks from the first 2 games back. Most, I say. Because they had to leave out like 6 songs. Which is not a huge deal, mainly because if I had to tell you what songs were the ones that were missing from the soundtrack, I wouldn't be able to tell you. They've got Blood Brothers, they've got Superman, they've got Rage Against the Machine, they've got Cyclone, they've got Heavy Metal Winter, they've got Bad Religion, they have all of that crap, trust me. They've got all the songs that you can be bothered to remember, which is fine by me. However, they have also added a bunch of new songs, a lot of which aren't bad. Like, there is a very good selection of songs in here. It would have been nice if they sprinkled in, like, some of the greatest hits from, like, the other Tony Hawk games. Like, there's a bunch of, like, songs in the other ones that would have been fantastic to just slot in here. Maybe they're planning, like, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 expansions. I don't know. I'm not going to claim to know. But, for the most part, it's great. However, there are like 3 or 4 songs that I've removed from the rotation just because I thought they were like too hardcore for Tony Hawk. Like, at least based on all the other songs. Like, there are some songs that I'm really surprised didn't come from the original games. And at the same time, there are these really hardcore like rap songs and like shit I don't even know the genre of that are just too much. Doesn't fit the positive atmosphere of Tony Hawk that well. Doesn't fit the original taste of the soundtracks that well. Just not something that I could say I enjoy. And again, most of it is like really intense rap that's just kind of unpleasant to listen to. It's weird. And like, we're not talking about, I can't remember the bloody name of it. We're not talking about like that one rap song that was on the soundtrack for Tony Hawk 2. That was fine. That wasn't too hardcore, but there's a couple in here that are just, I hate them. And as soon as I realized like what ones they were, I immediately cut them out of the playlist. But thankfully you can just press R3 and skip straight to the next one. Huh, Billy Talent, that's a name I haven't heard in a while. There is also, of course, some fantastic sound going on. It's kind of let down by the fact that the skater seems to say, "Woohoo! Oh yeah! Woo! Yellow skate the Scott." I don't even know what I was going for there, but they never shut up. that's the problem. They never shut up, and there's no option in like the options menu to get them to shut up. So, you know, if you don't like that, screw you, I suppose. Yeah, single section. Let's talk about the graphics. Kind of let down by one thing, and that's the loading times. Now, the loading times aren't particularly long. It kind of depends on the level. It's obvious that the game's been at least slightly optimized, because levels which are less intense, a la the gigantic eyeball bowl here, they load in a fair amount quicker than the rest do, right? So no problem with that. My main problem with how long it takes to restart. You see, in the career mode, which we'll talk about in a bit, in the career mode, you have to be not so much constantly restarting, but there are multiple goals which will require you to do things along the lines of find these 5 things in the level, and if you're a new player, or even just like a returning player who hasn't played in a few years, there's a very good chance that you're not going to get all of these things, right? There's a good chance that you're not going to be able to find them like straight off the bat. And that's okay. You just restart, because you have a 2-minute time limit. You're not going to be able to find them all on your first go, at least in most circumstances. But that's okay, just hit restart. In the original game, it would take like a second to restart. The game would fade out, fade back in, and you'd be playing the level again. No problem whatsoever. In this game, it takes about 5 to 10 seconds, which is annoying because it's not fast enough to make you want to sit there and wait for it to happen. But at the same time, it's not slow enough that you can do something like get like a drink of water, or scratch your ass, or just do something along those lines while you're waiting for the game to load. So you're just kind of waiting for your second chance. And you kind of think like, oh, maybe I can go look up the guide, and then the game will be running for like, shit, that would have been like the platinum score there. You can't like wait for the game to load. You think, oh, I've got enough time to grab that, grab a mouthful of water. Nope, you've already been skating for 3 seconds. And then you sit there and stare waiting at it, and it feels like you've been waiting forever. It's kind of annoying when that happens. Damn, I would have been in the top 10 if I landed that. No, I would have been in the top 15, I suppose. With that said, though, it looks great. They have maintained the original layouts exactly. As a result, some of the changes can feel a bit weird. Like, the first competition level in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 is a level I just don't recognize, like, at all. And it's kind of annoying like that. It feels so off from the original style just because it feels a hell of a lot brighter and more colorful than the original game's first competition level did, that it feels a bit weird in that sense. And there are some levels which have had their visual look changed entirely. Like the mall level, for example. In Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1, it was a mall that looked like it could have opened tomorrow and it would have been fine. In Tony Hawk's 1 and 2, it looks like there's been an apocalypse 20-something years ago and they didn't bother to like clean up the mall. It looks like a complete mess. There's shit all over the place. There's windows you can break through really easily. There's like just everything looks like it's falling to pieces, right? Not every level gets a massive makeover like the mall does. It just feels weird that mall was the only one that did. Everything else though feels incredibly legitimate. Most of these levels, well, all of these levels I should say, like even though the mall got such a significant change to the way it looked, it still looks fantastic. And since they all play the same for the most part, all the old tricks work. All the old ways you know of completing things, all the old secret areas, all of the usual places, all the familiar faces. I'm sure there's a song I could break into here, but you've probably already heard my voice too much at this point. But yeah, long story short, it looks really good. And as I said before, it's well optimized, so it doesn't skip a beat. There is one other technical bug that I can think of now. I have told you that the game does run pretty smoothly, and in the control department, it's no slouch, it runs fine. But here's the weird thing about it. I noticed a weird bug where, for some reason, like directly after a level would start, all my inputs would lock, and it would take a bit of button mashing to get them to recognize any response. Obviously a bug. I only managed to make it happen a couple of times, but it's still weird. 17 million points, fuck me. Yeah, looks great. Soundtrack is outside of one or two things which you'll probably immediately turn off if it's your displeasure, because you can do that in the options menu. Pretty damn great as well. Plays and handles like a champ. So I guess there's nothing left to go over but all the stuff that's outside of the game, right? So, they changed a few things. The main career modes are almost exactly the same as they were normally, right? So for those of you unfamiliar, you would go to a level and there would be a series of goals for you to do. Everything from get a high score, to find a series of objects throughout the world, to perform a specific trick in a specific area. And when you completed enough of those goals, the game would let you move on to the next level. Then you would unlock competition levels, where it was a best of three. Your two best scores would be picked out of 3 heats, and if you managed to win, you could move on to the next level after that. You'd earn money to upgrade your stats and your board, and that would be the long and the short of it, more or less. You get to the end, and well, that's it. Then you replay through the entire game with every skater to increase all their stats, unlock all their boards, and just generally have a good time. Because, admittedly, the campaign modes of these games can be a bit short. Like, you didn't see it, I got it in a previous take, but before I started up my last take of this game, the game timer was reading about 3 hours. So, it took me about 3 hours to finish the campaign of 1 and 2 on my custom skater, of which that has returned. But of course, doing that with every other character is going to be a bit, well, let's just say time-consuming, because there's 25 of them, at least. There are also hidden skaters. I know Officer Dick made it in, so you have to unlock him. But yes, once you beat through the game, you just go through all the rest of the other people. That's fine. Do I have the option to go into the game mods? Not right now, I don't. Okay, never mind. We'll just go back to the level select, and we'll move on to the hangar. Hell yes, we're on to the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 levels. I skipped the warehouse level because I've already played like 30 minutes of that on a previous video on this channel, so I figured I'd better just give you like all new stuff. More or less. So yeah, the campaign has been updated. You earn experience and money for doing basically everything now. You don't find it in the world, you don't get it for performing goals. You get XP for doing goals, but you don't get, you get XP for doing goals, but you don't get, what's it called? You don't get money. XP lets you level up, and that lets you buy new cosmetics from the shop for your board and your skater. Easy enough to understand so far. You also have money, which you use to buy all this stuff, which you also unlock via playing the game. You also unlock it via doing the challenges, which you've been seeing a fair amount of pop up in the top left as I've been playing. There are hundreds of challenges in this game, and most of them involve doing very specific things with the skater. There are multiple challenges for getting combos with the skater. There are multiple challenges for finding gaps with individual skaters, and there's like 20-something individual challenges for each skater. So again, while you're playing through with all the individual skaters, you're going to be spending a lot of time figuring out these challenges. They do tell you what the challenges are. Like, it'll tell you a specific gap in a specific level, but then it'll just basically say, hop to it, sunshine, which is not great. Also, I love this little detail in the, hangar, where if you just look at the, outside the half pipes here, there's posters for all the Neversoft developed Tony Hawk games that didn't suck. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, 3, and 4, Thug 2, and American Wastelander on the other side, and Proving Ground. Proving Ground wasn't that bad, actually. But yeah, you get these you get hundreds of these challenges. There's tons of them. And some of them get ridiculous. Like, there's stuff like grind for 10 hours straight. I hadn't even gotten 10 minutes when I had checked on that challenge progression at the end of my career run. So, yeah, that's something. And those challenges, when you complete them by going over to them in the main menu, will earn you XP money and extra cosmetics you can't get otherwise. Cool. And you can use them to customize your creator skater, who works the same way as they usually do. You go through the levels, you find stat points in the world now, you don't buy them, and across both Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, the stats are shared. And they'll let you upgrade all your individual stats, from how long you stay in the air, to how good grind balance is, and everything in between. There's also plenty of, like, secrets in around that weren't here originally. Now, I did say all the layouts were the same as they always were, and that's true, but there are also things like, hidden, what do you bloody call them? There's, like, alien plushies hidden all over the place in each level that you need to go find. There's, a couple of other things like that as well. Just minor things that don't really change how the game works in any particular way or shape. So, I'm basically saying there's a lot to get done. And there's a few different sets of challenges, like get all the goals done on 3 different skaters, spend a get a certain set of challenges done in order to get like your platinum trophy. Although there are a few that don't require the platinum trophy, which is nice. I don't remember how to get into the pool inside the school. Sorry. Wish I could show you that. Probably looks good. But yeah, I don't mind the way this game handles progression, because it's basically just the same stuff as the original games, just with some extra cosmetics to do. And challenges to pull off, like special gap combos and what have you. It'll be like, get this gap in a 40,000 point combo. And it works. Plenty to do, plenty to see, and it also ties into all the other modes, which I'm not going to show off, but I'm just going to keep skating casually while I talk about them, because, well, frankly, I'm not very good with any of them. Well, that's a lie, actually. Wait until I tell you about how well I did on bloody online multiplayer. But yes, there are a bunch of like other things you can do as well. So one of the things they've actually added to this mode into the free skate stuff in particular is a speedrun mode, where they keep track of how fast you can get through all the goals on an individual level. Which is actually pretty cool. I don't got a problem with that. That's a really neat idea. It gives people something else to strive for. And there are par times, so you need to actually get pretty good in order to finish off those challenge meters. Bollocks. It's just a neat addition. I like it. Nothing wrong in particular with giving the speedrunners a little bit of stuff to work with, you know? There's also online multiplayer, which there's been in the last few Tony Hawk games. And it's pretty easy to understand how it all works. So, you've got two different matchmaking playlists you can go for, jams and competitive. Competitive being the more casual side of things, but there's still like challenges to be won, like win 200 jams and win 200 competitive games. You know, nothing too particularly out of the ordinary. And it's everything from get a high score in 2 minutes, to get this score first to win, to get this combo first to win, to get the highest combo in 2 minutes to win, to graffiti tagging everything, which is just like doing a trick in order to own it. And admittedly, like, I played with a few people, and you can't interact with them in any way, so it's more or less just your own personal stuff, so it doesn't really matter how laggy the game is, and I didn't notice any particular lag or issues finding players in the few matches that I took the time to play. That's cool. I imagine they also add like horse and tag in the competitive stuff, but I'm not going to claim to know that for sure, because I didn't play competitive. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2 competitive. Because here's the thing, when I was playing on the casual playlist, the jams, the thing was like, get 200,000 points and you win. First person to get it wins. And I got it in like 30 seconds. I have a video of me winning like a get a high score thing in 10 seconds. It's that ridiculously fast sometimes. I'm assuming it's harder on the more competitive side of things, but you know. There is also Create a Park, which returns. It's got less themes than the original, and they don't look that different. You've got Heaven, you've got Venice Beach, which I absolutely hate, and I think there's Chopper Drop as well. And they're just themes like for you to put down a flat square of pieces worth of parks. And it's all pretty good. It's handed a little bit more legitimacy via the ability to make smart pieces. And these smart pieces, there's like half pipes, full pipes, rails and stuff along those lines. Those smart pieces can have their geometry altered. So you can stretch them out, you can make them thinner, you can make them higher on one end and lower on the other end to make more dynamic parks. And then you can share those parks online and have other people play them. And there's like a browse function for like the top rated parks. It's a really cool set of systems. Kind of let down by the fact that they're not as feature-filled as, say, Tony Hawk's Underground 1, where you could make goals for them and gaps for them, which I don't think you can do in the track editor in this one. Like, I can understand goals. Like, making an entire classic set of goals would be a little bit difficult to, do. It's possible. I know it's possible. I've done it myself in my own bloody 2D platformer shooter game. I know it's a bit more difficult when it comes to a 3D skateboarding game, but I know it's possible. But not being able to put in gaps, which has been a feature since, like, Tony Hawk 4's custom part creator, just a little bit disappointing, dude. Just a little. But still, it works. I managed to go and play a couple of custom parks. None of them were particularly impressive, just due to, you know, the limitations of the entire thing, but it's still the same old custom parks you're used to. And again, you can share them online and other people can remix them too, which is a nice touch, although not too much that you can remix. Although, I imagine that someone is going to like immediately start remaking like maps from Tony Hawk 3, 4, or at least parts of them, because you don't get that much space to work with. But still, it's a nice set of features to have, and I'm sure the purists will appreciate them. You do also get cheats for every time you beat the game, or at least I imagine that's how that works, because it's how it worked in the original games, and when I beat the game, I unlocked a special color filter that I could put over the... I unlocked a special color filter that I could put over the whole game. And I imagine that if I play the game more... Fuck Venice Beach, I hate Venice Beach. There's also local multiplayer. Did I mention that already? I honestly can't remember. This take's been going on for 30 minutes now. So that's good. Nothing wrong with local multiplayer, especially these days when they seem to be determined to remove it from every single game possible in favor of making it an online RPG co-op experience where you're being nickeled and dimed and being put through the ringer on like time-wasting daily missions in order to get the absolute best items possible. They'll just get made outdated in 6 months when they introduce a new content patch, because fuck everything that does that these days. Yes, I am still a little sour from playing Avengers. I will have a video up on that, like, hopefully towards the end of the week. It's frustrating, man. I'm just happy that this is here. I don't know if they actually plan on, including, like, paid DLC. Actually, that's a lie. There is a couple of, like, profile badges, which are also things you unlock by, like, playing through the game and successfully doing challenges and whatnot. And one of them is, like, a Call of Duty endowment pin, which I assume goes to, like, the Veterans program that Activision have got set up. You know, nothing too out of the ordinary when it comes to that. But yeah, they've got room to make, like, paid cosmetic packs, so it's Activision. They already did it with, like, Crash Team Racing. I assume they're going to do it here. But the base game itself still has all the content that you will probably need to have a fair few hours of skateboarding fun. I think I'm going to exit this run here, and I'm going to go look through the main menu to make sure that I haven't forgotten anything. Yeah, I talked about Creator Park a little bit, I talked about multiplayer a bit. Might as well go through the options. There's all my songs. There's a couple of songs that I unticked because they're fucking terrible. Yeah, there's Token. I also think that's terrible. Again, you can't turn off the voices. You can also use subtitles, which is nice. Here's your gameplay options. Not too much out of the ordinary. Your brightness settings, that's basically all that is. See, I had Legacy Moveset Classic TH PS1 on, which lets you isolate those moves. And here's your graphics. We'll turn it on to Green Boy, just to see what it's like. It doesn't take effect out here. And there's your stats. You can modify them at any time, which is a nice touch. Your special slots that you unlock via doing challenges, which is nice. And you can also see all the tricks that have been mapped here. There's your store with all the stuff you can buy. I've got tons of money, just why not spend it? It's part of a challenge, actually. Yeah, there's all your challenges, and I'll just claim a few just to show how that works. Leveling up doesn't really do much for you outside of unlocking new cosmetics. There's your challenge bundles in the bottom right. There's your badges that you unlock as you go. Records, Hall of Fame for multiplayer and custom park stuff. How you're doing on the original games, goal progression, and all of that stuff. So, yeah, I don't think I forgot anything. So let's go play my favorite level in the entire series. We'll just skip the last few. Skate Tours, Ranked and Free Skate. It's all the way down the bottom. Skate Heaven. Oh, I'll just show this off. So when you go over to the Featured tab, it just shows you all of these. Some of these are actually kind of impressive. Like, look at that one. Look at that one. It's good stuff. But yeah, my favorite level in the entire series. And they even did like fresh audio recordings that sound even more spooky. When it decides it wants to load. In 2027. Thank you. Skate on, my son. The first, well, I only played this once before I decided to do this video. Because, you know, I'd seen everything the game had to show me at that point. And the song that started playing was Blood Brothers by Papa Roach, which is my favorite song in the entire series. It's like the one song that I would like constantly listen to. And man, was it a good like way to like end off my exploration into the remaster, because gotta tell you, man, extremely well done. There are minor things that I'm not a fan of, like how it seems to like stutter a bit when you land, a couple of the little just like timing changes, a few little weird things here and there, like how the mall looks completely different than you would expect it to. Just a couple of like really minor things like that, which are just like almost invisible blemishes on top of an otherwise absolutely fantastic remaster that clearly has put both a lot of love, care, and attention, a lot of love, care, and attention into what is basically the two most well-remembered games of the series. They did a fantastic job with it. Really happy to see that they didn't fuck it up. Yeah, how's Activision going to fuck it up within the next 6 months? That's the only real question I've got left. Would I recommend you go buy it? Absolutely. It's got the classic gameplay. It's got a really nice look about it. It runs really well. The soundtrack is mostly on point. And I can't argue with the results. Fantastic example of how you do a HD remaster. What the fuck is that over there? I have to go see what that is. I did not see that the first time through. It looked like fucking Mount Rushmore, although I'm assuming it's Mount Skatemore and one of them's going to be Tony Hawk. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, I am like 100% sure that face up the front is Tony Hawk. Or is it? I have no idea, but that's still really cool nonetheless. But yeah, excellent. Excellent remaster. Well worth your time and money if you are even remotely interested. Even if I'm making it look a bit too hard by constantly tapping away at the buttons. I love that sound. Ow. I don't love that sound. Oh yeah, the bales. The bales just, like, don't work. Well, they don't work the same way they used to. They used to, like, fall down and you'd have to, like, mash the buttons to get up, which you can still do. It just happens a lot faster than it used to, and I'm just really not a fan of it, if I'm being honest with you, because I missed how you would just fall over. Maybe even a couple of, like, the more intense ones from Tony Hawk 4, where you'd, like, break your board. You'd pick it up and just throw it on the ground and smash it. And someone would just, like, magically throw one into you. Those would have been fun. But again, like, really minor thing. Fantastic little example. What are you still doing here? This is Mimbley Maxima, and I'm going to cut myself off in mid